All right. Hello, everybody. How are you? We're live. Um, well, I'm so glad to be here. I'm really excited about this. So I'm Elena Zanfe. For those of you who don't know me, I am a life empowerment coach, and I really stand for women really owning their worth and to help them thrive in their life and for them to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. You know, we get in our own way a lot of times, and that is what Natasa is here to talk to us about. So I'm super excited. I have with me Natasa Zoubouridis. Oh, now
Zoubouridis.
Zoubouridis.
Wonderful.
Natasa and I both have those names that get often butchered because everybody always says my name wrong, but they probably only say your last name wrong. With me, they say them both wrong. So I got you beat.
I get the first name all the time. I'm
Oh,
like,
you do?
they're like, oh, did you mean Natasha? It's like, pretty sure I know my name.
No, I'm pretty sure. Exactly. By the way, I'm excited that we are here. So rather than me introduce you, why don't you just share with the audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, what your background was, and we'll start. Go ahead.
Okay. So I got so nervous all of a sudden. All right.
I know, it's like when we're really live, it feels different, right?
I know. When we talk just one-on-one and like coaching,
I know.
it's so calm and like relaxing.
And the minute you think like, is there somebody watching me? That's okay.
Yeah, no, I started out in let's see, I always wanted to be a writer. Actually, I always wanted to be an actress and a writer, work in film and production. And I actually started in school as a bio major to become a doctor. I was going to go to become a dentist. And my passion was not there. So I was like, I'm going to be a writer. So I went to school. I went to English class. I got a bachelor's in English to become into creative writing. And I was going to be screenplays. Yes. So I went to school. And so from there, I ended up joining a cancer organization. And it was, I collected jokes for kids with cancer instead of monetary donations. So it was all comedy based, and we did a lot of videos. And the person that owned the company was like, you would be a great producer. You should be a producer. So I became a producer because there was no money in writing. And, there's all these fears that I had around it, but producing just made sense. And from there, I ended up becoming a producer on WGN TV for the first and only late night comedy show called Man of the People with Pat Tomasula. And it was awesome. Yeah. And when the show got canceled, I don't know how to sit still. So I started a marketing business. Turns out I don't like marketing. So I did it to my business partner, who's very talented and very good at it. And I was just kind of lost in the ether after that. Yeah. I started nannying my friend's baby. And so I went from, wanting to aspire to get Oscars and be a screenwriter and, publish books and all that. I ended up becoming a producer, and then I was nannying a baby, which I loved very much and actually inspired me to write my book.
I got that. Yes, I love that. And that's really what we're here to talk about, your book. Yeah. And, that's why I wanted to have you on, is that I want people to know about your book, not just because you dedicated it to me, although that was amazing, because when I got it in the mail, I had no idea you were writing a book. So first of all, I thought, oh, she wrote a book. And I was reading through it, and then I was, the tears started coming down, because when I saw the dedication, it was just like, oh my God, it just really, really touched me. But I wanted everybody to know about your book because it's a very special book. And I thought, what a great opportunity to also be able to share with people what you had to go through in order to write that book, because it's been on your heart for like 30 years, right? Yeah. I mean, for 30 years, you've wanted to do this, and there's a lot that got in your way. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about and share with others, because in the hopes that it would help, because we know there's a lot of people out there that have something in their heart, right? They've wanted to do something for a really, really long time. And we know things get in the way. Our fears get in the way, the stories that we make up about it. And that's just part of being a human being. So if you can share something with them that will help them, then, our job was done for today. So, so with that in mind, why don't you kind of talk a little bit about what needed to happen in order for you to get out of the way? Like, you know, for 30 years, you've been sitting on this dream, right? And then something happened that allowed you to take a step forward. What was that?
Yeah, it was a culmination of things. Well, one, and I know you don't like to promote yourself, but that's why I'm going to do it because I love you very, very much. I joined the Awesome You program, the coaching group that you have. And that started giving me a different perception of how I want to view myself, who I am, because I was very much floating in the ether and lost. I was my career. I was a producer. I had no identity outside of that. I was a secret wannabe writer, but this is who I was. And so as we started working, I just became so much lighter, so much freer, really started to understand myself. And it was actually while I was babysitting, while I was nannying, I started thinking, I love this child with all my heart, my best friend's kid, but I'm not furthering my career. I am my career, Yeah. And you told me, and it was funny because I don't think you remember telling me this. You were like, how about you just get really present with this little girl?
I do remember telling you that.
Yeah. You're like, why don't you give this girl all the love and attention and hope and just pour yourself into this child, that everything that you wish someone would say to you, say to this little girl. And so I did. And I fell madly in love with this child. She's beautiful. And my best friends are actually twins. So they both had kids. That's why there's 3 kids in the book. And I also, every time I see the other 2 kids, I also give them all my love. And it was very freeing to just be able to say all these lovely things to this child that are also kind of meant for me, like I am more than just a producer. I can be more. And because I had all this love, I was journaling one day and I decided to write a love letter to these kids. And honestly, it just poured out of me, like who I am, how much I love them, because she was not even a year old. And I realized she can't read. So maybe I should put pictures with it.
Hey, what a great idea. So that's how you got started then to write the book?
That's how I got started to write the book. It didn't come from, okay, I need an agent and I got to sell a bunch of books. And okay, first I got to get a publicist. And I should start with short stories, like all these things that they kind of teach you in school or that all these writing programs tell you to do. They're very, I was very scared of them. They're like, you need to write every single day for 1,000 hours and, your book's not going to sell and you're going to get rejected all the time, but you just keep chugging along.
Right. And then Natasa, if you don't mind me saying, doesn't then the ego, it picks up with that. It picks up on all of the shoulds and all of the, the work or the details or the minutia. And that's kind of what it uses to keep us out of the game, right? Oh, I'm sure, because you shared with me how you were so focused on all of the steps that you needed to take and how long it was going to take and how you needed to get a publisher. And it's like all that, right? And the ego says, oh my God, that's way too much work. We're not going to go down that road. But what's interesting is that once you stepped into a place of inspiration from that letter that you wrote, you shared with me that one thing changed, and that was where your intention was, right? Before you were intending to write a book for the sake of making money and getting public, like all of that, right? But then how did that change?
I just had absolutely no expectations. I was not looking to publish my first book and become a bestseller and, make sales. I just wanted to write. I wanted to make a gift for my friend.
Yeah.
And when I decided that, things just started falling in line. This is like, people are like, oh, publishing a book's so hard. This is the easiest process I've ever experienced.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
Isn't that amazing? And I think that it became easy because one of the things that I teach in my program is that when we take inspired action, we're really aligning with what, divine creator, God, universe, whatever you believe in. It's like we're following something that has been put on our heart, and it's in our heart for some reason, right? And when we follow that without any shoulds, without any attachment to it, meaning the attachment of I have to make money, like all those things, right? When we follow it without attachment, we're literally just walking forward with inspired action. And when we do that, one thing is for sure. When we step into inspired action and we just take the next step and then the next step, things line up for us. It's almost like the angels hear us, right? And then they just come in and they start to open the doors. And I've talked to so many people who have stepped into doing things from an inspired action. Inspired meanings you just have the desire and you have this inspiration to do it. And ironically, the word inspire means from spirit, which could also be said from God. So when we follow that, things do line up. It's like you were sharing with me, all of a sudden you were watching a YouTube video on how to self-publish, and tell us a little more about that, because that's what I think, that's when the magic starts to happen, and I know I've had those experiences and now you've had that experience. And I want people to know that when they really step into this part, this calling, this thing that's been on their heart, there's a reason why it's there, first of all. When they step into it and they say, I'm going to do it just for the sake of doing it, then divinity steps in, the magic starts to happen. You'll have the conversation, you'll meet somebody, something will happen to keep moving you forward. Share more about that.
Well, also, so something that you do in your program that I really love is that you teach in a way that every learning style can understand. So if you're very scientific and analytical and you want to understand the science of the brain and why you think the way you do, you take that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you're like, if someone is more spiritual, or they work more with their emotions or something, you do that. So you find every learning style. And one of the first lessons was the learning to pick up signals, right? So the reticular activating system is something that your brain does to notice things. So when you really, so what happened was the opportunities were always there, but I never saw them.
Right. Raz wasn't letting you see them. Yep.
Exactly. So when I opened up to, I'm going to do this, I made the decision that I want to write this book for my friends and their kids. Suddenly I started seeing all these opportunities. So there's this girl on Instagram, her and her boyfriend, they're called Cajun Ventures, right? And they sell things on Amazon. And they did a post and then a YouTube video about how to post a book on Amazon KDP, which is free print on demand. You can self-publish for free. I was like, what? You can do that?
Yeah.
And then I realized one of my, when I was in the cancer world, one of the moms loved drawing. And I always knew she was an artist. I was like, maybe I should ask her to illustrate my book.
Wow.
We started talking and she was like a little too nervous, but she goes, why don't you talk to Tom? And he owns a wonderful cancer organization called Beat Tom and Bill. And he's already published 4 children's books. And she was, why don't you talk to him? It's like, I didn't even know that I knew somebody that published books.
Isn't that amazing?
He talked to me. He told me, okay, get an illustrator, do this, do that. He gave me the email address to his illustrator, which is Katie Williams, who I used. She was a professional. She got the book done in like no time at all. And it was like, it was such an easy process. There was no struggling. Like in production, there's so much back and forth with the client. There's, there's just negativity. There's this, there's change that, tweak this. I was like, can you illustrate my book? She was like, yeah. And then
sure.
You like
easy peasy.
I was like, I do like it. She's like, cool. And it just was the easiest thing.
It flowed.
It flowed.
It flowed.
At no point was I stressed out or worried. And for some reason too, I just really envisioned they would love it, like, yeah. And it's not like, oh, I'm such an amazing writer.
But you are.
Yeah. But like, it's a love letter. It's not like you can't mess it up.
Right.
And they did. They loved it. And then I was like, I realized it's on Amazon because I didn't want to pay for printing. So I was like, hey, it's on Amazon. Um, other people loved it too. And I realized it's a relationship that a lot of people have, especially a lot of women, just like how you're my kind of aunt, you know, like you find these people who are in your life. And yeah, it just felt very easy and good.
Yeah.
So much so that I'm officially a full-time writer.
I love it. I love it. And you are, you know, you've shared some other things that you have on the docket, and you are, I mean, that is a gift that God's given you, and that's definitely in alignment with your soul. So why don't you share with everybody, what's the ultimate message of the book?
That's a wonderful question. So I like to think that relatives are given to you, but family is chosen. So I have real nieces, right, who are my blood relatives, who I love, and I will always love, and I will cherish. And everything I say in the book is the same for them. And then there's something about choosing a friend to be like your sister, or
Right.
choosing someone to like be a part of your family who you could break up with them at any time. Like there's no reason that you have to have this person in your life. You genuinely chose each other, and you want to be in each other's lives, and you want to make it work. And I'm very fortunate to have the relationships that I do, because I mean, when my friends brought the baby home, they're like, this is your Aunt Natasa. I'm like, I get to be aunt. I already knew. I would call us, they're twins. I would call us triplets all the time. I was like, I already like inserted myself into this family. But it's such an honor for someone to be like, oh yeah, you're like family. You are family, when there's no, you know, legal certificate or blood relation. It's
Isn't that the truth though? When you really like someone, when somebody is really special to you, I mean, we kind of use that. We say, oh, you're like family, you're family, you know. And it's like you made it in this inner circle called family. So your book then represents the family that you chose, which, right, and then they also chose you in return.
Yeah, there's a bond I feel between women, and I'm sure men have this too, but just like this sisterhood where your best friend is like your sister. Because I love my sisters. We're also 6 years apart, you know, but having a sister that's your age, who's been going through the same thing you're going through at that time, that's kind of, you know, what we had or have.
Yeah.
So
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So the ultimate message in the book is that you get to choose your family.
Yeah, you get to really, you know, it's an honor, and it's something to be cherished. And, you know, you can build as deep of relationships as you want with people. So I feel like, you know, you can definitely choose your family.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I choose my family all the time and also have the family that chose me. So, you know, the reason why I had you on here was I wanted people to know about your book, but I also wanted to speak to the person who's got a lifelong dream. I know that in the work that I do, I speak with a lot of women, and there's, you know, a lot of women will say, I've wanted to do this for so long. I wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to create this, or especially entrepreneurial women. A lot of times when they step into entrepreneurship, it's really to kind of give life to something that they had in the back of their mind. You know, women leave corporate America to start their own business because it's been something that they've always wanted to do. What would you tell them about? What do they need to do, or what do they need to focus on in order to get out of the way of the thing that's keeping them stuck in the fear of not doing, or whatever is getting in the way of them not taking action on this thing that's been in their heart for a long time? And obviously it's there because it wants to be expressed. What would you tell them?
Yeah, definitely. One, call Elena.
Percent. Is that like call Ghostbusters, call Elena?
First thing you got to do is call Elena. Honestly, yeah, because I started the personal development journey, and you were there. We were in the same course, and then you're what helped guide me into really looking inward because honestly, I've never felt 100% in my skin, in my body, in where I am, right? As a producer, it's always like, okay, I gotta get a bigger project. I gotta get a bigger project. I gotta, and all the while I was like, I just don't have time to write. I'll write when I have time. Writing isn't gonna make me money. I need to pay my rent. And I was just constantly in this rat race of like, I'll eventually fulfill what I need to. And I just gotta get stuff done first. And it's not about what you do. It's about who you are and who you're being. And I never really paid attention to who I was. If someone were to ask, who are you? I'd be like, I have no idea. I had no identity. I couldn't tell you.
You just said something that made me think of a thought. You said, a lot of times we forego life and really kind of stepping into the thing that is kind of laying there dormant. Like, you've heard that adage, most people go to their grave with their song still in their heart. Well, what does that mean? That means that a lot of us have something inside of us that that wants to kind of be birthed through us. Like, we want to do it, but it kind of lays dormant because our logical side says, well, it's not going to pay the bills. I have to do this first, right? So we kind of put our creative expression or our soul's expression or dreams and desires, we kind of put those on hold for the sake of creating this life, making a living, right? Which I understand, we all need to do that. However, notice what happened the moment you kind of let go of that, and the moment you said, I'm just going to do this for the sake of doing it, no attachment, right? You stepped in it. The resources and the things that you needed to support you in that came in magically, not so magically, but magically. They came in to support you. And then notice what's happening to you on the other side of that. You sold a lot of books, and hopefully people will check out your book and buy it for their nieces and nephews. But notice, like, what is happening to you as a byproduct of you having stepped into your inspiration and actually taking action. What has it done for you as a person? What has it opened up for you?
I think that's also a really great question. I constantly had a weight and an anxiety. I mean, granted, we still do, the ego creeps in and out.
Yeah.
There's something about, if I really just focus on where I am, I feel so much lighter. It's like, no one writes one kid's book and just decides to be a full-time writer. That's kind of crazy, right? I should get a job, but I want to be a writer. And it's like, I'm done being scared of it, when seeing that it's something that I can accomplish and that people respond to it and that I respond to it. I'm not as scared anymore.
Not as scared.
Yeah. I mean, fear tries to creep in, but what this has done for me is really found myself, found my creativity, found my passion. And it excites me to sit with a journal and just like create stories. I was doing that when I was 6 years old. Wow. There's a reason,
There is a reason. Absolutely, there is a reason. And now it just, and I guess what I was alluding to here was that as you stepped into that, inspiration, you stepped into, and you took, inspired steps. You took one step and then you stayed in that momentum because you were out of your head and things were aligning up in order for you to move forward, and you allowed it to be easy. And by you doing that, it's opening up a part of you that thinks, well, wow, I did that. It wasn't that hard. What have I been waiting for, right? Which is usually what happens to most people when they actually do the thing that they've been putting off. Many, many, many times, more times than not, people will say, what was I so afraid of? Like, why did I wait so long? But now what it's opening up to you is, number one, how exhilarating it is to, number one, have your thoughts and emotions be put on paper, have people read them, have people respond to them. You're making money on it. And now it's opening up possibilities because you now can see yourself differently in the role of writer, differently than you did before when you were stuck in that fear part. that says, oh, that's too hard. Oh, I need to, like when you were piling up, and not you, your ego was piling up all the reasons why it was safer for you to stay in the known zone rather than step outside into the unknown. But where you are now is more aligned with who you were intended to be, right? Because this calling has been on your heart. And that's what I'm really speaking to. I'm speaking to the people who have that calling on their heart. It's been there for a really, really long time, and you're not paying attention. You're doing everything else under the sun to pay the bills. You did like all the logic, which is understandable, but you're denying a part that God put there for a specific reason, because I believe that we are used, through our own strengths. My strengths are different than yours. I'm a writer too, but I'm not a writer like you. I haven't always, wanted to write, but now you're aligned. And now you've kind of worked through some of that fear because you've done it. And if you did it once, you can do it twice. So I'm excited to see like where this takes you, what other books you will write, how you will touch people with them. Because now it's more than just about you. And see, this is another thing. You writing that book, you wrote it not about you. You see that?
Yeah.
You literally wrote it as a gesture of love. And I also believe one of my fundamental beliefs is that we are always guided and we are always supported when what we do is for many, for others, not just ourselves. When we're in the mode of got to pay the bills, like we're in survival mode, it's about us. When we are in the giving mode, it's about others. So you will be used, your life will be used, through your voice, through your writing in beautiful ways, because that is the way that you will show up for others in a way that you can be used more than just you sitting at home trying to figure out how to make money. I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what you do with it.
I just want to interrupt because I find it really interesting how you said when you're in survival mode, it's very much about you. And then, when you start thinking about others, what I noticed was I lived a very long time in survival mode, and I'm still shaking it off. I'm actually feeling really great. I've shaken it off quite a bit. And I do feel that I want to service others more. I never felt that before. I always felt like by helping others, I was a very helpful person. But it got to the point I spread myself too thin, and it really wasn't like a joyous thing for me. I just felt like someone else needs me, And what I noticed was that getting out of that and really putting myself into caring for others, I'm actually receiving more than I did when I just focused on me and just focused on my rent and just doing a job that maybe I didn't really want to do, or like, it's a good job. People say it's an awesome job, but I'm not satisfied in it for some reason. So by doing this and feeling satisfied and doing it for others, I've gotten so much more out of it than anything else.
Absolutely. And then it fuels you, right? Doesn't it fuel you and fill you up? You want to do more. Exactly. Yeah. It's like the whole boomerang effect, when you do things for others, it comes back and it fills you, but it fills you and then you want to do more. It's just that circle of,
I never understood it. Tony Robbins was like, service others. I like watched one of his things and he's like, help others. It's all about, that. And I was like, how about you help me, buddy? I'm the one that needs help. And I'm sitting here trying to help myself. And then once you're like, I'm fine. I want to do this. This makes me happy. Yeah. It's like, wow, you're right. It does come back to you. It is a boomerang. And
it is. And I think people don't understand that as long as we live in the fear, survival, ego part of our lives, we don't step into our greatness. Our greatness can't shine through. That's really what my whole Awesome You program is about. It's really about helping you and every woman that comes into it learn what I had to learn. It took me a long time to learn it, right? To really learn who am I really, first of all, and what is my greatness, not from a place of ego, but what is it that God gave me that is unique to me that then I can use to serve others with. And I'm not talking about that everybody needs to be a coach. God forbid we have too many already, right? But like some people are writers and bakers and sewers and flower people and singers and right. doctors and lawyers, it's the thing that we do, but we do it from a place that is heart and soul rather than mind and intellect. The way that we show up and the way that we're used, meaning the way that we are used in service of others, is so amplified when it comes from a place of heart. And the things that we need in order to be in that space shows up, but it does require that we address the ego. It does require that we understand that there are these two disparate parts of us, that called spirit, soul, and ego, mind, and how the two kind of compete one to the other. And I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that that's one thing that I really drive home a lot in my teachings, because I think people don't understand. And I know that even in my first or second module, where I go into really giving you a science, a science lesson on the mind and how it's created and how RAS works and all of the makings of it. I remember in one of those classes, you said to me, "Oh my God, this changes everything," because you had an awareness of how your mind was operating that allowed you to let go of the judgment that you had about something that you weren't doing. Because what happens when we live in the mind, we're always coming from that there's something wrong with us. There's something wrong that needs to be fixed. And the moment you understood that it wasn't something wrong that needed to be fixed, it literally is a scientific way that you were wired, all of a sudden it allowed you to let go of this judgment that was holding you in a really dark place. And so imagine, like, now you're on the other side of that. You've had many of those moments where you were able to see like the truth of things. And then as we get clarity and we get understanding, it allows us to let go of that and to have new awarenesses and to have new, like, wow, okay, wow, this is a possibility now, right? So
I love one thing that I see this image. I took your teachings and I created this image in my head. And it's kind of how I try to explain it to my friends, that we're like just this beam of light, right? We're just a little beam of light. There's nothing good, bad, nothing. It's just a pure light. And then as we get older and we grow, society puts you get a smudge of dirt on you, right? You get your people's opinions. You get magazine covers. You get that one time in school that boy didn't talk to you, and suddenly your light is dimmed because you have all this mud on you. All these,
exactly.
And then what I feel is every time you and I talk, or we go through the teachings, or every time we had a lesson, it was like a little dirt got washed off, and then the light started shining. And so I'm more and more feeling that my light is shining through, and I'm who I'm meant to be. So it's not like I'm broken or there's something wrong with me, or you're so depressed, or like you're never satisfied with your career. Whatever these ideas, you're never going to have enough money. It's just a piece of dirt that you just got to brush it off. And I am more and more, as I get aligned with that soul, that inspired action, everything's becoming so much more effortless.
It does become effortless. Yeah.
And that's the awesome you, like how you say it is, you're already awesome. I'm just helping you clear the fear,
clear the mud off of you,
off you, so so many people think like, oh no, this happened to me, I'm broken. I'm like, no.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Get it off.
That's where I lived for a really long time, that we attach stories to the experiences that we have in our lives, and then we become an adult that's walking around the planet living through a story that got created because we have had it with us our whole life. Something happened and we create a story around it. And to your point, what you said is that I really feel like that's kind of the role of life. We're born this beautiful light, we get dumped on in a myriad of ways. And then our job, if we so choose to, free will, right? It is to kind of take it upon ourselves to really, really get underneath and to start to peel away the layers that's really constricting our soul, that's really constricting the beauty within us. And that's really why, like, my whole brand got changed after I had an experience in 2016. I won't go in it, but it broke me. I mean, I've been broken a lot in my life and I've done a lot of work, but in 2016, I got broken down to on my knees. God has a way of pulling the rug underneath us when he wants our attention. But out of that came a deeper determination for me to really, really learn to love myself, something I was never taught. And out of that came this word awesomeness. Like I got to a place where I experienced the awesomeness of life, the awesome, like the awe of life, right? When you really look at life, we look at creation, you look at expression of the soul, we look at gifts and talents that people have, your ability to write. When you look at the world in totality, it is, we can either look at it and say it's very dark, there's a lot going on, or we can also say it's awesome, meaning it's so complex and it's so beautiful and it's so intricate. Well, so are we. We have lost sight of our awesomeness. And that's why this whole brand came out of that awareness as I was learning to discover my awesomeness, not from an ego place, but my all, as if God were to see me, and the way that God I believe sees everything. It's through the lens of this awesome creation, right? Then as I was learning to do that, as I was learning to get in touch with the awesomeness within me, I felt like this is how I want to move forward. I want to help people find their awesomeness, and to be able to step into that place where we can feel the awe, not the awesomeness just of ourselves, oh, I'm awesome, but just the awe of life, the awe of creation, the awe of who we are, the awe that each and every one of us has within us. We were all created with something magical and wonderful within us that is meant to be shared and expressed, right? Mm-hmm. You are just now tapping into it.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And that is going to be the vehicle that you will ride through life, and it's going to continue to expand. I stepped into mine kind of like not wanting to, because I didn't know when I started down this path that this is the way that God would use me. However, boy, is he using me. And I am continually on the path. I'm continuing to grow, and I'm never going to stop growing. I'm going to be 85 years old and probably still doing webinars or seminars, and reading books, because it's just become a passion of mine. Mm-hmm. But my point is that the awe of life is within everything and everyone. And it is our job and our responsibility, really, to find it and to dig through and to sift through all of the mud, like you said, all of the patches that have been put on us, because we're all like that. It doesn't matter how much trauma or drama we've experienced, it all covers up the light, and we all have light within us. So imagine us, all like dirtied up, covered up souls walking into a room, and we step into a beautiful shower, and all of a sudden everything washes out, and now we come out clear, beautiful souls, kind of ready to live our life through the way that God intended us to be. I know that I'm making this very, very lighthearted intentionally, but that is kind of like the metaphor of life, so that when we do go to our grave, we go into it having lived and expressed whatever was put there to be lived and expressed, in a way that we can only do that when the light is shining. We're not going to do that as long as we're filled, and as long as we are literally living through the mode of self-preservation and self-protection, which is what the ego is all about, right? So that's the whole kit and caboodle right there. So I'm so glad, I'm so 100%. Happy that I'm just so happy. It is just so awesome for me to observe you, to watch you, to see you open up, to see you follow your passion. And while we're on the subject, how do people find out, like, where can people go learn a little bit more about your book and order their own copy if they would like to support you?
Yeah, you could go to natasaz.com. So that's my Instagram and everything, but natasaz.com will just lead you to a page that will lead you to the book. But yeah, how can people find the program, Elena?
Oh, how can people find? I want to show your book, by the way. This is Natasa's beautiful book, and it's beautifully illustrated. I certainly hope that you all will support her and pick up a copy. And how do people find out more about the Awesome You? They can go to awesomeyouprogram.com. They can read all about it. If they still have questions after scouring through, they can just book a call with me and have a chat. I am not a salesperson. This is literally a soul contract for me to be here in support of women. And if it resonates, it resonates. If not, that's totally cool. And
I'm gonna sell it. You call. I'm gonna sell it. She's not gonna sell it. I'm gonna sell it. Go there. If you want a taste of what I have right now and what she has, it's honestly, Elena, I love you very, very much. I wasn't even able to say I love you until you and I had that talk. So I was like, you don't just say I love you to people. And then you're
Right.
like, why not?
Yeah, I remember you. Yeah, so well.
The things that I learned from you, even just from a 15-minute conversation,
Oh, thank you, Natasa.
I've never been so happy. And it's because of you and the work that we do. I know that.
Honestly, this was not the intention here.
This was my intention. This is what I came here to do.
Gotcha. Okay, I came
Like,
here
I
to
want to talk about your book. I was like, I want to talk about you.
I love you. You're wonderful. You're wonderful. Well, God is going to use us the way that he's going to use us. And I truly believe that. And it's all about, showing up and sharing what we know and letting the rest be what it is. And I hope you sell a gazillion books, and I can't wait to see the next one and then the next one. And who knows, maybe we'll partner together on one, because I have some ideas.
I love it.
Yes, I know. That would be awesome. Anything else you'd like to share, Natasa? It's so wonderful. You and I could talk forever. Well, actually, I could just talk.
We both do.
Let's face it, I could just talk forever.
Everything you say, though, it's so good.
Not all of it, but that's okay. Anything else you'd like to share?
I just thank you. And thank you to anybody who's watching.
Yes, thank you for those that are watching. I know that there's a couple on here, appreciate their time. And, hopefully we've inspired them. That's really what it's about. Hopefully there was somebody listening that maybe walked away with, maybe this message was intended for me. I've been wanting to do X for a really, really long time, and I'm not doing it. And so maybe there's something I need to look at, that's really what this is about. So as other people hear it, and if they listen to the replay, that's really what the intention is. And that's, I think, what our voice is best utilized for. So thank you so much for your time, Natasa, and keep writing those amazing books. And thanks everybody who tuned in. And I hope this was of value to you.
Thank you.
Bye for now.